Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Walter Scott and I am a designer and an Adobe certified instructor for Photoshop. And today you and me are going to go through all the exciting new features in Photoshop 2021 that have just been released. I'm going to put them in order that I think are most important, or exciting, through to the, not the worst, but the most obscure of the new updates. We are going to have exercise files. You can actually play along with this. So you can watch it now and then download the exercise files to do some of these projects yourself. There'll be a link below for that. So let's open up the new version of Photoshop and jump in. All right, open up Photoshop and then go to File Open. And we're going to be working with the file called Sky Replacement 01. You'll notice that a few of the files have these names afterwards. That's because Samuel Ferreira decided to share his image with the world under a Creative Commons license. Means we get to use it without having to pay for it and without a watermark. So thank you, Samuel. Dan, Ethan, Tobias. You'll see a few of those through the course. All right, and the first thing we need to do, just make sure everyone's looks like mine in terms of the workspace. Go to Window, go to Workspace, click on Essentials, okay? Then come back in here and go to Reset Essentials, just so that yours looks like mine. And now we're gonna look at the very best, most exciting, according to Dan, 2021 Photoshop feature, and it is under Edit, and it is this one, Sky Replacement. Yes way. Click it, kick back, relax, watch the sky, watch it. Oh, it just removed it. Look at the mask, so good. Turn the preview on and off. It will depend on, this remembers the last sky you've picked. So along the top here where it says sky, drop that down. Okay, and you can work your way through. There's a bunch of preset ones. So blue skies, you can click on any of these and watching. Oh, good, huh? There is all sorts of amazing ones in there. Spectacular. Let's go for the spectacular. They've got to suit your image. One thing you to note is that you can click on these and actually drag them here. So if they're not quite lining up, you can move them around. Okay, so that's going to be good for my one. Oh, look at that. So good. Let's click OK. And I want you to notice the layers over here. It's pretty non-destructive. You can turn that group off and it's all back to normal. Okay, but there's all this kind of non-destructive masks, the backgrounds there, lots of things you can mess around with afterwards. Let's have a look at the second version. File Open and go to Sky Replacement 02, Dan Freeman. This is Auckland Harbour in New Zealand. You'll notice a lot of kind of New Zealand-y pictures because that's where I'm from. But let's look at taking this Sky Replacement in a little bit more detail. Let's go to Edit, Content. No, let's go to Sky Replacement. And be amazed, watch the sky. Oh, it is good. Let's have a little look. Let's pick one of the sunset ones because I want to show you something. Pick anything you like, move it around as you wish. Okay, but I want to show you this kind of foreground adjustments that's happening here. If I click OK, you'll notice here we get our kind of like layer built up, but these two bottom ones here are actually doing a pretty amazing job. The background, if it was just cut out, would look okay, but unrealistic. It's these foreground colors. See, turn them on, turn them off. They're actually taking the color from the background, in our case from the sunsets, and it's actually influencing this foreground. Okay, so it's actually kind of, see, it's actually changing our foreground image to make it believable. The kind of stuff that we'd have to do as professionals to try and get it to blend, but they're doing that automatically for us. And again, there is adjustments. Okay, so there is lots of masks. You can actually click on here, this little icon there, okay, and actually work through the curves that they've adjusted. Okay, to kind of fine tune as you like, but it's pretty good out of the box for me. Let's open up the third one, File Open. Let's go to Sky Replacement 03. Now I'm showing you this one because it doesn't work very well, or at least it needs a little bit of modification afterwards. Sometimes I see these tutorials online and they show me the only ones that work perfectly, but I want to share with you what you can do if it doesn't quite work. It's this kind of like overexposed sunset over here. Let's click Sky Replacement. Still does a pretty good job. Lift it up, try and match it up. You can see what's happening kind of over here. So to get around that, you can play around with Shift Edge and Fade Edge. Okay, if it's a consistent background, it's not going to work for us. I'm going to click OK. But because Photoshop was clever enough to give us all these kind of layers that we can work with, see the sky here, you can kind of see in the thumbnail it dips down into this too far. What I want to do is work on the mask, okay, and grab my brush tool. So this one here, or B on your keyboard. Okay, and in terms of the color, I want to make sure my foreground color is black. Okay, so over here, if it's white at the front, click on this little arrow here. And in terms of brush sizes, a little handy trick for you is I'm going to scale it up. You can use your square brackets, it's up to you. But what I want to do is, if you're on a Mac, hold down Control and Option on your keyboard. Okay, both of those down, and then hold the mouse down, left and right is the size, and up and down is hardness. That's a sweet trick. Okay, if you're on a PC, you hold down the Alt key, okay, and use your right click, weirdly. Click your right click down, hold it down, and move left and right, up and down. I've got something about that sort of size. Black's my foreground color, and I'm just setting the opacity to about 50. Another little trick is on your keyboard, tap 2. Can you see it change the opacity to 20? 5. So these are the numbers that are just above your letters. Okay, click on those. 0 is 100%, weirdly. 7, okay, I'm gonna go down to about 50, and then just kind of brush this out. Just back and forth, trying to match the rest of it. I might actually creep up into this area here, go a bit bigger. Do the same on the foreground lighting color, just to try and bring that back in. So it's never going to be perfect on everything, but hopefully we'll give you some tools to, I don't know, make it extend through some of the more challenging backgrounds. Let's open number 4. This one here, sky replacement 04, click open. I want to show you a couple more things you can do. So edit, sky replacement. Let's have a little look. Pick something different this time. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it's already some mountains, double mountains. All right. So what you can do is shift edge. Okay, it's going to play with the connection between the foreground and background kind of new sky here. So you can play around with shift edge. We'll kind of let more of the background or the original image in. Okay, and you can go the other way where it gets really tight and kind of starts overlapping. It will depend on your image. The automatic features, I don't know, it seems to do a pretty good job, like for such a new feature. Good work, Photoshop. And the fade edge as well, like how much of a transition is it? Is it pretty abrupt, or is there a nice big fade? Okay, everything else, you can play around with the brightness of the sky, the temperature of the sky. Okay, anything else? Oh, you can bring in your own skies. So in this little drop down here, you can click on plus and bring in something that you have got. Okay, something of your own or something from a stock library site. You can build your own groups. You can do all sorts of cool things in here. So that's cool. One last thing I want to show you is this tool here, I don't know what it's called, Sky Brush. Click on that. And what you can do is, these are very generic controls for the entire image. With the brush, you can actually just like mess around with part of the image. Okay, say there's just one part giving you trouble. You can paint it on or off using plus or minus. Okay, and it just messes with the edge. I'm going to crank it right up to show you what it's doing. I don't need to fix this one. I did find it hard to find an image that was broken. So I guess it's credit to Photoshop that this thing worked pretty good. Okay, I'm just wrecking it now. So hold plus or hold minus to decide which way it kind of moves the foreground and the background color in. Again, I couldn't find an example that was broken enough for me to go and use a sky brush. It's there for like little touch-ups. All right, click OK. Sky on, sky off. Oh, good. And actually, before we move on, I want to get you to do some homework. Think of it as fun practice. So I want you to find a photograph of your town, your village, your city, your state, your country, whatever it is, and I want you to send me a before and after. You can find images from Adobe Stock if you have a license for that. Unsplash or Pixels are great places for free images, or take one yourself. And I want to see a before and after you replace the sky. Okay, and share it with me on Twitter. Okay, I'm Dan Loves Adobe. Instagram, I am Bring Your Own Laptop. On Facebook, check out the group Bring Your Own Laptop Online. Join that group and make sure you share a before and after. I'd love to see what you do. All right, let's move on. So the next feature is kind of an addition to sky replacement. Sky replacement's pretty like abrupt. Maybe that's not the word, but it just kind of replaces the sky. Maybe what we want to do is just enhance the sky, adjust it. So what they've done is they've given us a cool feature. Let's go to File, Open. Let's go one called Sky Select 01, Jeremy Bishop. Okay, open this one up, and let's say we don't want to replace the sky, but we do want to like adjust it. Maybe in our case, we're going to add a bit of vibrance to it, lighten it up. So what we can do is we can go to Select, and they've given us this handy selection. Click on that. It does a pretty amazing job. Look at that. I've tested it on a bunch of different images and it works really well. What are we going to do with that selection? We can go to adjustments and we can say, I'm going to use this last one here called vibrance. Okay, and I'm going to, increase the vibrance or saturation. It's up to you what you want to do. Given that selection, we can use curves, levels, whatever you want to do. It's probably a bit extreme. Anyway, so you can see down here, because we had a selection, it's a layer mask, it's all very non-destructive, on, off, off. And we can use that exact same technique to do the inverse as well. Okay, we can go to select sky. Let's say we want to mess around with the foreground. Okay, so we've got the sky selected. What we can do is we can go to select, go to inverse, and look, we've got the foreground selected. Cool, huh? We'll do the same thing. Let's go to adjustments. Let's click on, let's use curves. Okay, and do what you want. Okay, so, am I making mine better or worse? Everybody's yelling at home, worse. It was pretty good to start with. There we go. All right, so foreground, sky, all with the new fancy sky select. All right, next new feature. All right, so I want to close all these down. You can save yours. I'm not going to save mine. File, a handy trick for people that don't know, close all. You're like, can that be that handy? Close all means you can do this. Apply all, don't save, or click save, up to you. But I'm going to don't save them all. Goodbye, people. And they all go at once. Everybody done the file close, don't save, file close, don't save, file close, don't save. Anyway, let's look at the next one. It's called Content Aware Trace. Now for this to work, depending on when you're watching this, it's in something called the technology previews. It means that you can turn it on if you want to use it. I think you should, because it's cool. But it's maybe not ready for the big time yet, just yet. So if you go to, on Mac, Photoshop, Preferences, and go to Technology Previews, okay, if you're on a PC, go to Edit. You'll have Preferences down the bottom and find Technology Previews. Yours might be on by default. If you can't see it in here, you can see my one, it says Enable Content Aware Tracing Tool. Turn that on if you can see it. If it's not there, it's probably just on by default now because you're in the future and they've just turned it on. It's no longer a secret thing you need to turn on. So make sure it's on and go to File Open. Let's go to the one called Content Aware 01, Jude Beck. Now, who is this good for? It's for people who use the pen tool in Photoshop to kind of either cut things out or make vectors. It's best to kind of just show you what it does. So it is hidden. Well, it's not hidden. See Content Aware Tracing Tool? It's mixed in with the pen tool. So click, hold on this for a little while. Go to Content Aware Tracing Tool. And up here, I've picked, you might be using a path. It depends on how you're using this. I'm going to build a shape so you can see it on the video easily. I'm going to have a fill with no fill, and I'm going to have a stroke that is bright green and it's 10 pixels, just so that you can see what I'm doing. And what we're going to do is already, if I hover above it, I know Jason and Taylor, the editors, will zoom in so you can see, but there's this like teeny dotted line around the outside. Okay, what you can do is, look at this, ready? Click once. It drew a line around the outside. Look how good it is. I'm good with the pen tool, but I'm definitely not that quick or that good. Okay, and what you can do is, instead of like, what you want to do is say, I want to add to it. Okay, so you're going to switch to the next tool. And what it'll do is it'll say, do you want to join it with this one? And then join this one and back to this one. Oh, back to that one even. Look at that. Look what it did. So good with the pen tool. Even if you are good with the pen tool and you enjoy a good going around the outside and adjusting curves and handles, you've got to be a little bit impressed. I am, at least. Let's look at another option, because that one was actually, I found an option that was on a nice clear background. Okay, if you're doing product photography, you can make those kind of like simple backgrounds happen to make your cutting out easy. Okay, but let's look at something that's slightly more complicated. Let's go to File Open. Let's go to Content Aware 02. This one here has a few like compound shapes. Okay, so we're going to use the same tool. Okay, and we are going to turn this on, Auto Trim. I've found it's off by default, but it might not be off on default depending on what Photoshop decided to do in the kind of final versions. But this thing here, I find, just turn it on and leave it on. Because what it will do is, watch this. So I'm gonna zoom in here. Can you see this kind of first shape? If I click on here, great. Then I go to this, And I go to this. Can you see it's going in? It's following that curve in there. Okay. It's being too clever for its own self. And you click on that and you're like, oh no, what do I do? And if you go over here, you can kind of see with the power of zooming in, can you see that line? Watch that line there. Can you see there's like a little squiggle through it, a little red line going jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. I don't even know it's red, it's tiny. But it means that's that auto trim feature. It means like, oh, you're going this way, I'm gonna delete all that stuff. So you can go around, make sure auto trim's on, and just make sure it'll double back and delete anything. Now remember, I'm on this plus, so I'm adding to it every single time, and that's what I'm on by default. Now you can see across here, it's given up. It's like, well, there's not enough contrast. It doesn't know what to do. So what you can do, this is where this detail option is. It's set to 1%. Watch this. I click, hold it with your mouse, like click it down, and then drag it to the right. Can you start to see all those lines appearing? Okay. If you go too far, it's going to try and draw every single tonal change there. So you want to find on your image where the happy medium of like most of it is visible. Okay. You see all those blue lines appearing. Okay. So I went somewhere in there. Okay. So that it gives it a bit more, it's just being a bit more detailed with its look. Okay, you can see there now it's got that piece. So you might have to turn that up and down as you go around depending on like how detailed it is. Okay, mine's doing amazingly. Oh, look, it just did all that. Now I'm going to be honest, this, it works amazingly well with this high contrast back and forth images. Things that are all, you're trying to pick hair out of hay, it's not going to work. Okay, so it needs to have, at this stage at least, and it's kind of like, I don't know, pre-release version, it needs the, a really high simple contrast. Another thing I want to show you is, we've been hitting plus to keep adding to it. Actually, I want to finish, it depends on what you want to do. I don't have to finish this off, but I want to get close to here to make it a complete solid, because then I could go through and fill it if I wanted to. It's not what I want to do. Just to prove that you can. And what I want is these shapes in here. I need to cut these out as well. So I want to go back to this first tool, and that'll just mean that it'll think that I am creating a new shape, which is what I want to do. Okay, I don't want it to try and join up with the old one. Okay, I'm going to go in here, try that one. Okay, so now it's started another shape. I have to go back to the plus. Otherwise, it'll keep creating new shapes. So yeah, that's something you have to do. Have to kind of wheel around a bit to find it. Come on, zoom in a bit. That'll do. That'll do. Ooh, I'm going to have to fix that with the pen tool because it is very blurry. I don't blame you, Photoshop. That's a tough one. Any other ones? So I should do the same thing in here. Oh, that was a one click. Woohoo! All right, let me show you in the next one how to tidy some of this stuff up. But you can see here 3 separate shapes. I could be copying and pasting these into Illustrator, XD. Okay, I could be using the paths, okay, for doing masks. Amazing new feature for those people who use Pen Tool in Photoshop. Let's open up the third one, Content Aware 3. So with this one, what you need to remember is that the detail is set to whatever it was in the last time you used it. So probably, like mine got up quite high. I'm gonna go back down to 1% to see how well it does, and I'm gonna just give it a go. I often go as low as you can and raise it up if you need to. I leave auto trim on. I often just start with plus and leave it on plus, and I'm gonna just work my way around. And whoa, look at that. Nice. Anyway, excited. Let's click on one. Let's click on this one here. So it didn't quite grab in there, so I kind of need that. Oh, no, there it was. Okay. Now this is a lot trickier one, so there is going to be a few problems in here. Let's have a little look. Down here, still pretty good. Like there's going to be tidy up regardless. Those first ones I gave you were really exciting, and I made sure they were pretty good for the demo to get everyone hyped up and excited, but there is going to be tidy up to be done. So things like this, it's easy enough to go through and grab the pen tool and the direct selection tool. Okay, these are the two that you'll use. Okay, you can go in here and P for pen tool, and that one there, I do not need you. So I don't have to hold anything down, turn it off. Same with that one, don't need you. Okay, but that one there didn't quite work. So I'm gonna grab my direct selection tool, drag it up this way. I'd argue that's a pretty amazing starting point for this particular one. Depends on how fast you are with the pen tool. Anyway, that is Content Aware Trace Tool under Technology Previews for the moment, but if you're watching this in the long future, it's probably just a tool in there ready to go. All right, next feature. I'm going to do my File, Close All, tick, Don't Save, and then go to File, Open. And I want you to go to Daniel Walter Scott 01. And it's me. Hello, me. Looking very neutral. I'm normally smiling. That's not my natural face. But I had to for this particular new feature. Let's check it out. They're called Filter Neural Filters. Okay, these are scary good. Let's click on them. Let's click OK. It's using things like, they call it Adobe Sensei. Think machine learning, artificial intelligence-y stuff. Now, yours will look different from mine probably. I've got a pre-release version. You've got this kind of like featured filters, which only has a couple. These are the ones that Adobe say, these are ready and are pretty good. These ones down here, which we'll look at in the beta filters, are all things that are really good, but they're getting out early to us to have a look through, okay? But there are some artifacts and some small issues with them. But as they get better, they'll be moving into here. So you might have to look between these two to find the ones. The one I'm gonna turn on first is skin smoothing. Click on that one. Oh, look at that. Now this little option down the bottom is preview, on, off, on, off. Look at me, like 10 years younger. I look very soft. So you can play around with the smoothness and how blurry it is, okay, to get something that works with your model, okay? Your model might not be as handsome as this model is, okay? So you might have to crank up blur and smoothness, but for me, I want, maybe because I know myself too much, I know that that is a nice version of me, but you can crank it up as well and go full on fake skin. Nice. All right, so I'm going to turn skin smoothing off, and let's have a look at probably the first feature that I raced in to go and find under beta filters. Turn on Smart Portrait. You might have to download some stuff for this. There might be a button here that says download, and then you went straight down here and you went hair thickness, give me lots of it. And then kick back, relax, and watch it up here. It's actually doing the work in the cloud. And come on, I'll speed it up. I was hoping more here, more like, I don't know, Fonzie. But it's pretty good. Preview on, preview off. It's pretty realistic though. That's actually gone back, sad to say, probably about 10 years. And let's go maximum here. Now you can see up here, it does things where oh, look at that. That's me with lots of more hair. It's pretty good. It's giving me more like hair on my sideburns as well. Okay, so this is in beta. So there are, there are some glitches to it, but it's pretty amazing, huh? And again, it processes a lot of it in the cloud, so that's getting faster and faster. Mine didn't take very long at all, but you might have to wait. If you've got a really bad internet connection, it might take a little while for the Adobe servers to process what you're doing. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's turn hair thickness off. I won't go through all of them. I'll go through the ones that I thought were interesting. Let's go to Be Happy and crank that up. That's why I got a neutral face there. Look at it. Preview on, preview off. Holy smokes, it's kind of me smiling. And somehow I've got nicer teeth than I normally do. I got pretty bad teeth. Anyway, so have a look through those. They are getting better. I know that there's another release coming in the next couple of days, which are going to fix the teeth to be a little less artificial. Okay, facial age is probably the one. This is the biggest one. This is the one that like, it's pretty, look, it's me when I'm old. Totally is. That's going to be me when I'm older. On, off, on, off. Let's go the other way around. I'm not going to spend too long on this. Do I look younger? Kind of do. Okay, we're going to go facial age up. Let's go for gaze. This one here kind of like, I don't know. Did it freak me out or did it get me excited by technology? Watch this. Look to the right. Oh, I look to the right. Now, I want to go through and just kind of play with them all and have you along for the ride, but we'll move along. The things I want to show you, though, is this little blue dot here. It shows you what filters you've actually applied, so you can actually go through and apply more than one at a time. Okay, and this will tell you the ones you've got applied. Let's make sure my hair thickness is cranked up again, and we'll click. One thing I want you to look at down here is where to output it to. Sometimes you want to output it to a new layer. Okay, it could be a smart filter, duplicate layer. Just know that that option is down here. I'm going to just put mine on a duplicate layer. Let's click OK. And I think the gaze, it's done something with my eyes because I did my original image right. I'm using a ring light. Okay, and you can kind of see that ring light in here. It's kind of done it a little bit weird there. It's totally me with more hair. Ish. All right, so let's move on. Actually, what I've done for you is I've found you, well, I haven't found you some models. I've given you more versions of me to mess around with in your exercise files. You have permission to make me old, mess around. Okay, there's just a couple of other images you can play around with. Be respectful, but I'm totally happy and not offended and can take a joke. But just be respectful in terms of, I don't know, controversial topics. Keep me out of those. Those are there for you to play around with. And I'd really like to see what you do. Like, again, I want to see some ridiculousness or subtlety, up to you, but have a play around with those other versions. And like before, send me what you do. Okay, we're at Twitter, Dan Loves Adobe, Instagram, bring your own laptop, and on our Facebook group, join that, bring your own laptop online. Check out that group. I'd love to see what you do. All right, while we're here, let's move on to the next one. So let's go to Makeup Transfer 01 and click Open. All right. I'm not sure what I was doing, but let's have a look at one of the other neural filters. So let's go to File, let's go to Filter, and let's go to Neural Filters. There's a few like good things in here, so it's worth spending a little bit of time in here to show you the best ones that I think. Let's go to this one here. Let's go to Makeup Transfer. Actually, this is not a good one. This is just funny, and it only takes a second. So turn it on, find your reference image. I've given you one in your files, okay, called Makeup Transfer 2. Okay, open that one and give it a second. Oh, that is handsome. Okay, so you can transfer makeup from one photograph, okay, you can see here, to another one. Again, I'd love for you to go through, find your own images, okay, references, when you can use me as the model, okay, and put on different makeup. All right, let's click OK. And I want to show you some of the other more practical ones. Oh, look at the layers. It's left that there. So you can do some other blending later on. Probably not the best image, my screwed up face there, but anyway, it worked it out. Let's look at another actually practically useful neurofilter. Let's go to one called Style Transfer. So Style Transfer. Yes, Daniel, I can find it. Style Transfer. There it is. Open. So Style Transfer is in here as well. Let's go to Filter. Let's go down to Neurofilters. Let's go to, it's actually in the Featured section. Go to Style Transfer. Turn the little tick on. You might have to download some stuff. It might take a little while. And look at that. It matches the style over here. And you can just kind of work your way through, and it does a pretty amazing job at kind of matching some of these styles over here. Some of them good, some of them bad. Look at that one. That is really good. Click Show More. Okay, you can kind of just click your way through your image. Let's do some Van Gogh. It's pretty cool. You can, down the bottom here, do a couple of things. Probably the one thing that I did quite a bit is preserve color. So it actually preserves the original color and just picks like the texture from it. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Let's have a look at another one. Let's click cancel on that one. Let's have a file open. Let's look at one of the earlier images. It's called Sky Replacement. Where is it? Sky Replacement. We'll do Sky Replacement 01. Okay, and go to the same thing, filter. It works really amazing with landscapes. Style Transfer, click it on. Try a few of them. Oh man, I loved that combination of that image there. That's O'Neill's Beach, kind of just west of Auckland. And look at that, so good. Some of them are average, some are really good. Works really good with kind of natural images. Wow, look at that, connection of that and that. Okay, yeah, you can play around with style strength and brush size and all sorts of other things afterwards, but Style Transfer, really cool way of, I don't know, I've used it a bit for making images just look old. I found one that works, you know, I kind of preserve the color, and I was playing around with some of these ones to kind of make it look vintage. Okay, it's kind of a cool painterly, textury thing going on. There was another one that I liked. Which one was it? Yeah, anyway. So that's Style Transfer. And click OK. And I'm going to look at opening up a next image. Let's go to File, Open. This one's called Colourize 01. Open that one up. So this new feature is tied up in the neural filters again, okay, but they should all be separate. No, they shouldn't, but I want to identify them as like different use cases. Okay, so coloring black and white images, you can do some amazing work under filter, under neural filters again, jump down to beta and click on this Colourize and just wait for a second. Look at that. I didn't do anything. Somehow Adobe Sensei went, that's grass, those are people. It's pretty amazing. You can play around with things afterwards, but man, for that first one, it did an amazing job. Click OK. Let's have a look at another one. So File, Open. Let's go to Colourize 02. Okay, and let's look at something that's maybe a little bit more, not problematic, but I'll show you, get a bit more detail in there. Let's go to Filter, Neural Filters, go to Beta. Now again, yours might be under this featured, okay, because I like it. Not sure what the problems are with it, that it's still in beta. Wow, look at that. And one thing you might do is you might go, oh, I like that, but I need to, I want a bit different color over here. Okay, so what you can do is, it's a little bit strange use. Okay, so you click in here and you say, actually no, you click in here and you pick a color. They need to be very neutral. If I want green, okay, I want green for the grass, I can't go in, I want a yellowy green. Okay, I can't go and use this because it looks terrible. Go way, way, way down here, okay? And I'm just clicking and dragging it here to get a kind of color. Click OK. And then what you do is you click once on the thumbnail here. And can you see it changed it over here? Look at that. You can add more than one color. Let's say that you want to make the C here. Click it first, then go and change the color. You can kind of see it select, it's got a blue ring around it. I don't want a green C, I want like a turquoisey kind of color. Now remember, subtle colors tend to work better. That is pretty amazing. Let's click OK. Now, if you've downloaded the exercise files, I've given you a couple more you can play around with. 03 and 04. Have a play with those. They're pretty amazing. But let's move on. And we're going to leave the neural filters there for the moment. There are other ones to go play around with. Okay, so under beta filters, there's a few other ones that super zoom zooms in and tries to clean it up. There's just ones that I haven't been able to find a good use for. Okay, and some of the ones down here are teasers. Okay, if you click on dust and scratches, you're like, oh, okay. At the moment, what they're doing is they are deciding that which one do we make first for our happy Photoshop users. And you click on this one and you tell them why you're interested. They'll start building the ones that people are most interested in first. It's a pretty cool way of doing it. So have a look through these face to character. Anyway, so have a look through them. And again, remember this will move around as they become a bit more kind of finished. They'll end up in the featured option. So let's hit cancel and let's move on. All right, I'm going to file, close all. You've seen this before, don't save. All right, let's open up File, Open. Let's go to one called Pattern 1, Open. And actually quickly before we go on and show you this tool, if you're enjoying the video, even just a teeny tiny bit, could you like the video? And also I do stuff like this all the time, so consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. And let me play you this real quick. What you're seeing here in front of you are the things that you create in my Photoshop Essentials and Photoshop Advanced courses. So if you want to invest in yourself and take your Photoshop skills to the next level, come join me in Photoshop Essentials and Photoshop Advanced. There'll be a link down in the description. I also have courses for Illustrator, InDesign, XD, Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Dreamweaver. Anyway, that's my surprise sales pitch over. Let's get back to our hummingbird. So the tools I want to show you, we're going to do 4 different selections here. A couple of them are from older updates for Photoshop that not a lot of people know about, and some of them are the newest features. So probably the biggest one from last year was this. So let's double click the word background because it doesn't work if it's called background and locked. Call it a name. I'm going to call mine hummingbird, funnily enough. And in your properties panel, I'm going to double click color just to close it down. So we've got a bit more space and you can see this one, look at him. So as long as background's gone, the word background at least, click on this, remove background. Look at that. I love the feature. You can see down here, it's added a layer mask and removed it. and I'm going to go into my libraries. I'm going to create a new library for us now. So this is going to be Photoshop 2021 release. And I'm going to grab my move tool, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag my little hummingbird in. Cool, so that's one of them. Let's open up a couple of other files. File open. Now before I move on, how was that? Was that good? Yeah, move background, man, that's a cool one. Let's have a look at the couple other ones. So let's go, we've got pattern 1 already open. Let's open up 2, 3, and 4. You can click the first one, hold shift, and click the last one to open up more than one document. You can hit Control Tab on a Mac. I think it's on both actually. Control on your keyboard and hit Tab key. You can toggle through the open tabs. So let's go to pattern 2. So remove background's good. I want to show you another one that is select subject. That came out recently as well. That's just a great way it goes through and like does a great selection. It's got a little bit of a problem here. I want to show you how to tidy it up. So let's first, on the background layer, let's add a layer mask. Okay, so it's got us there close. Okay, we need to remove these bits. So with the mask selected, we're going to go to properties. We're going to go to select and mask. Okay, and we entered this new world of select and mask. The kind of toolbar changed in bits. So the one I want is this third one down here. Well, actually, no, we use the first one. The kind of quick selection option up here, we're going to add minus to it because we want to get rid of stuff. And brush size. Who remembers what our shortcut was? You didn't write it down, did you? Hold down Control Option on a Mac, and then click, hold, and drag left and right, up and down, or just left and right for this case. There's no blurriness for this tool. If you're on a PC, you hold down the Alt key and then click and hold with the right click on your mouse. Weird. Okay, so I'm going to click once in there, and it's it's a terrible job. Okay, so I've painted that out. I'm going to go back to plus and pick a more appropriate brush size and just kind of paint this in. It's pretty. I find it pretty amazing the way it can kind of go through, and I'm being very generic and vague with it, and it's doing a pretty good selection. All right, same down here. There's a bit in here, so you can just toggle the plus and minus. Okay, so leave it at plus, hold on the Option key on a Mac, changes it from a plus to a minus. Can you see that? And it's Option on a PC. Shrink it down, click once. Oh, too good. Shrink it down, click once. Actually, I click and drag in that one. Okay, so that is kind of, that first tool there is a really good way of, once you've done a mask and it's kind of good, like our select subject, but you need to touch it up, that first tool is kind of a good starting point. Click OK. Same thing with this one. You can name it afterwards. Okay, it's up to you. Move tool, add them to the library. I'm going to call this one, is it a pelican? I don't even know. Pink bird. I should have checked. Okay, and let's have a look at the next one and another selection technique for you. And this kind of gets into some of the new 2021 features. Let's do the same thing again. Let's go to select subject. Okay, add a layer mask. And you can see it's got some stuff around here that's, that wing there is pretty amazing, the feet, but this wing needs some work. So remember, click on the mask, go to properties, click on select a mask. And up until this version, there was only the content aware refine. Okay, so in here, they've added this next one called object aware. What it does is, can you see this tool up here, the kind of hair looking one? Okay, it's called the refine edge brush tool. Okay, what happens in this first version is you can kind of click it and it kind of works. Okay, and I've just found an example where it proves it's very good. So I'm going to undo that. So it's this option here, object aware. Don't think this is better or worse. Okay, just try this one. If it doesn't work, use object aware. Okay, I'm going to click OK. The same thing, using the same brush, and I'm going to drag along the edge here. Okay, and it's just going to give me out way better results in this particular case. So it's really good with hair, okay, or things like grass, or in this case, it's something moving. Okay, so that's one of the new features here. You'll see object aware. So try color aware, and if that doesn't work, move over to this other option. All right, let's click OK, and same thing with this one. What kind of bird is this? I didn't check. So you are now a bluebird, regardless of what you actually are. Let's get them in there, and let's open up. Remember our sweet shortcut, Control Tab. Okay, and let's have a look at this one. So this one here is another new feature, newish. Okay, if you are still using the quick selection tool, if you're still using the magic wand tool, you need to start using the quick selection tool. And if you've using that but not object selection tool, this is pretty sweet. Click on object aware. Actually, let's do the select subject. because it's select object kind of works. And you're like, it's not what I want. Okay, so that's a too big a mask because it's quite detailed. But objects, the object selection tool, watch this. I can draw a box around this guy and look. Well, give it a sec. Give it a second, come on. Look at that, okay? It's done a pretty amazing job. Even got the foot okay-ish. Okay, you can add to it. Let's say it's missed out a little bit of the head there. Actually, first of all, hit the mask to see what it did. It did chop a little bit of his head out. You can add to it by holding the shift key down, so actually add to that bit there. Pretty amazing. All right, let's turn that into a mask and let's grab him, drag him in. I want to say toucan, but I don't think he is. He is going to be toucans. There you go. All right, so I've got my birds, and now I can show you another 2021 feature called Pattern Preview. To do it, let's go to File, New, and over here, let's type in, I want to be on pixels, so set yours to pixels if you want to follow along. I want it to be 500 by 500. Let's be 72 dpi, let's be RGB. I don't want artboards on for this particular one. This feature, at least in my pre-release version, doesn't like artboards. And let's click Create. Little white square. Before I explain the tool, let's actually just drag something in. Let's grab Mr. Toucans, okay, and get them to an appropriate size, hit return. And I want to make this a repeating pattern because I want it for fabric or background desktop wallpaper, something. Okay, so have you done it before? I've done it where you had to chop the top of his head off and stick it down here or export to some other program to do kind of tiling. Look, View, and go to Pattern Preview. Woohoo. Okay, so our little toucans, I can move them around still. Okay, and I can grab another one, get the right sort of size. Pretty amazing, huh? Now, I'm gonna get him there. If you've ever tried to do it, you are jumping around for joy because this is super cool. If you don't do repeating wallpaper patterns, it's still pretty awesome. So I'm just kind of getting our friends in here willy-nilly. Who else is missing? The hummingbird. Oh, buddy, you don't fit. A little bit of overlapping is going to be necessary. All right. All right, that'll do. So this is just like a view. It's not actually doing anything. It hasn't made it like a pattern for us. We still need to do that. It's just kind of like a way of viewing it. So with it off, you can't see the overlap. So to make our pattern, we definitely need it on Pattern Preview. So you can see the toucan kind of poking out the top. And then we go to our Patterns panel. Okay, if you don't have that, go to Window and open up Patterns. And what you want to do is, I'm going to turn my background color off. So it's white. I'm going to just bin it. Okay, and what I want to do is nothing. Just click on this little plus. Give it a name. Mine's birds. Oddly named birds. You can see there a repeating pattern swatch. Oh. Now you can go out to something like, I don't know, Spoonflower or whatever you can, like I've got wallpaper printed as repeating patterns. I've got wrapping paper patterns onto fabric, okay, made cushions, that sort of thing. We can do it for some mock-ups here. So let's go to File, Open. Let's go mock-up. We'll open up mock-up 1 and 2 if I can find it. There he is, mock-up 1 and 2. These won't be in your exercise files because I don't have rights to give you these ones. Okay, but you can find a lot of Photoshop templates. You're looking for the word Photoshop templates. These are both from, can't remember. I think they're from Envato Elements or Photoshop Adobe Stock. But what ends up happening if you find Photoshop kind of templates or mockups is, let's look at this first one, is that a designer's gone through and mocked this up for you, and all you need to do is adjust the smart object. Okay, so to edit a smart object, it's this little icon there. Okay, double click it. It opens up in this new tab up here, and I want to get rid of all of this. So I'm just going to go select all, and I'm going to go edit. I want it to have a white background. I'm going to go to edit, fill even. Can't do it on the background. Okay, so, have your layer selected, Dan? There you go. Edit, then go to fill. I'm just going to fill it with the foreground color. No, just going to fill it with white. Okay, so, and then I want to apply my pattern to it. Okay, so I've deselected. I'm just going to click once. Look at that. Got my like repeating pattern. Let's hit save. And then jump back to mockup 1. Give it a second. It'll update. It takes a little second. Come on. Look at that. It's already bent around the sheets and oh, it's all been faded in nicely. And some of the benefits of using those templates, and I found a practical use for our repeating pattern. Let's have a look at another one. Okay, the same with this one. Somebody's gone through and kind of added the graphics and kind of blended them nicely already. All we need to do is update the smart objects. Let's do this part of the hoodie here. Okay, so everyone does it a little bit differently. Okay, so I'm gonna double click it. They've added like a safe zone, so you can kind of see where it all goes. I'm just gonna create, just gonna go over the top of that layer again with edit fill because I want it to be white background. Okay, grab on that and hit save and watch my design, hopefully, update. Look, birds. Let's do one more. Double click him, sleeve. I'm gonna fill it again with white, add the birds. And what you can do is you can scale them. Okay, can you see down here? It's a kind of an effect that's applied to it. So you can double click on the little icon here and say, actually, I want the angle to be different. So you can move them around. And I want to change the scale around so they're not so big. Okay, you can click OK. Save. Watch my mockup number 2. Oh, he's already updated. Look at that. So there are lots of mockups around and templates around for things like stationery and websites and, I don't know, UI mockups for phones. They're pretty handy. The one thing that I did when I was messing around with this is when I did my graphic, is when I was trying to make my patterns, I turned off pattern preview and then made it, and it doesn't, watch this if I add it, it doesn't make it the same way. It's not repeating. Okay, so that needs to be on. When you're finished, you can turn it off. All right, let's look at the next feature. Let's go to File Open, and I want to open up one called Website. It should be at the bottom. Now this feature is one of those useful, but not very exciting. It's not going to give me my hair back, or maybe lose it less. Okay, so over here, look at that. There's a triangle tool, and you're like, there's always been a triangle tool, Dan. Nope, it's new and exciting. Okay, it's just new. But have you ever tried to go and you're like, why is there no triangle tool? And you grab the pen tool and you drew a kind of a rough shaped triangle and it's not quite symmetrical and you just live with it. Look at that, triangle tool. Fill in a stroke. I was going to leave it as is. Look, we get a triangle. Hold shift. Get like a constraint equal sides triangle. So not exciting, but things like arrowheads and triangles, it is, if you are into that sort of thing. One thing you'll notice as well is that's new. Okay, you're like, ooh, what's that do? If you're from Illustrator, you'll be like, I know what that does. I can click it and drag it. Look at that, live edges. Or at least live shapes. Okay, so all the tools do that now. Okay, so draw a rectangle, and you now have the option to go through on the object and drag it out. If it does disappear and you're like, you've gone back to your move tool and you're like, ooh, how do I get those back? Okay, you can either go back to the rectangle tool and make sure you have your rectangle layer selected, or you can go into this path selection tool and click on these guys. Okay, and click on these guys. Oh, and it switched to the direct selection tool. Make sure you're in your path selection tool. Where's my triangle? There it is there. Okay, so we can adjust it afterwards. So that wasn't possible before. You drew it and it was kind of fixed there forever. Now all these shapes are all updatable. Another new one in there, as well as the triangle, is the Polygon Tool. Okay, I can drag him out, or at least I can drag him out now and change him, okay, because he's a live shape. You see I'm scrolling down my properties. I'm going to double click patterns. As you can see, I can crank up the sides to make it other shaped sizes. There we go. Octagon, I know that one. Rounded corners, how much star happens. Ooh, starburst. So this is new for 2021. What was I doing in here? I was not meant to be drawing those two. I was meant to be showing you something good looking. Rotating it. And I want to show you, I've got to show you another thing. So let me get that in here. A triangle is in here for no reason. Same reason the dots are here. But let's give it a fill of, actually let's give it no stroke. In terms of the fill, there was actually last year they built in a bunch of gradients that are actually good. If you dived into the gradients, I don't know, not in the last year, there's actually some good ones in here. Look at these. Come on. There's actually some decent ones in there. What am I going to be using? I don't know. That'll do. There you go. So what we can also do as well is I'm going to duplicate them so we've got a couple. Oh, look, we're a visionary company. I'm going to select all three of them. Another update for last year's Photoshop that not a lot of people know is if you click on normal, okay, you can actually just hover above them and they will actually show you the preview now of like what they're going to be. Whereas before you had to do some secret crazy shortcuts or just click one and go back to them all. Use overlay. Look at us, visionary. One of the new upgrades, which are kind of weird upgrades, but really useful, is the line tool. You're like, that line tool's been there. You can't trick me. What it used to be though, is it actually used to be like a small rectangle. That's how Photoshop dealt with lines. Now though, it's an actual line that can be copied and pasted out into something like, I don't know, Illustrator or XD. It's kind of like a proper 1 pixel line rather than it was just a skinny rectangle. And that meant something when you were, especially when you were trying to output this to kind of vector drawing programs, and it went, just a skinny rectangle. You can't change the stroke. Now it's a legitimate stroke, but you have to take my word for it. Other thing you can do is you can reset the live shapes. Okay, these shapes. So let's look at our rectangle here. Let's say that you have played around with it and you want to set it back to normal. You can reset the transforms. Watch this. If I reset it, it goes back to its original size and its original rotation. That is new. Not very exciting, but useful to know. It gets a little bit more useful when you're doing something like, where's our mock-up? This one here. Let's grab, I don't know, library. Let's grab our hummingbird. And let's say we want to mock this up, right? So it comes in at this size. I want to transform it down. Get it kind of, but I want it to match like the fabrics. So I end up using, it's been around a little while now that you can use warps on smart objects, which is cool. Okay, but you get in here, you're like, actually, I want to try and bend it, so it matches the kind of fabric and bends around and does all cool stuff. If you haven't done this before, it's a great way to kind of try and get your artwork to match your fabric. You can click and drag these, okay, and then play with these handles. Another trick that not a lot of people know is you got to be very exact. They're a bit small. Is I can go up here and say, actually, I want to add kind of an up and down horizontal line. Watch this. I can just kind of, let's say there's that fold there. I want to kind of try and bend it so that piece there looks like it's kind of, oh, grab the handle. Is this painful to watch? For some reason, my little touchpad here is not playing ball today. Anyway, let's go to this one. You can start kind of matching the fabric, and you can add all these extra grid points as you need them, okay, to try and warp things to make it feel like it's going around the fabric. All right, I lose points for that one, okay, because it's a terrible warp. I hope you got the idea of what I was trying to do. The reason I'm showing you this is because, look, you can go to properties and go to reset, and it resets the warp as well as the size, as well as the rotation. So you can undo all that stuff, whereas that wasn't possible before. Oh, it's terrible. I totally demoed that before I did my recording and it came out pretty good. Not that one. All right, the next feature I want to show you is, it's kind of one of these weird ones where it probably should be closer to the beginning because it is quite special, but it's not very exciting. And I want this video to be exciting to keep you watching. It's more administrative, but really cool. So let's go to File. I'm going to this website. It doesn't matter which one you're going to. Let's go to File and let's go to Save As. And I'm going to save mine to the cloud documents. If this kind of moves around a little bit. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's there. Click on Save to Cloud. Now, if you've been ignoring saving to cloud for a long time because you're like, oh, it's not how I'm used to working, I'm going to show you one of the perks of why you should be doing it. So I'm going to call mine website V1. Okay, click Save. And what ends up happening is it's saving our version, or the version, onto your Creative Cloud documents. Okay, so it's saving it up there. There's always a local version so that it works fast. Okay, but the actual kind of real version is in the cloud. And there's perks for that because let's say that I make some changes. I come along here and go, all right, color, the background. Let's change the background gradient to, that looks good. Okay, and we change some type and we're working on it. Ready for this? No, because we don't know what, anyway, it was a quick mock-up. So let's save it and let's close it. And you're like, oh my goodness, I need to open it up again because I didn't want to, didn't mean to commit those changes. Have you ever done it? And you're like, maybe if I open it up quickly, all the history will still be there. You're like, quick, open it up. And you know that if you go to Window and go to History, after you've closed something, the history is empty. And you're like, oh, sad face. Okay, but because it's a cloud document, and you will have noticed like my actual working myself, there's not much different, you know, because it loaded real quick, didn't download it every time. There's some clever stuff going on in the background. But watch this. Different from history is version history. Watch this. Look at this. So Cloud Docs version showed me all the changes that I made after it was saved to the cloud. So back here, before I changed the color, this version, okay, when I changed the text, okay, how good is that? It's just like this backup. Now what ends up happening is, can you see version, I think if you're on I'm on an enterprise version of the software, so I got 60 days. I think for everyone else it's 30 days. Anyway, it's long. And what ends up happening is, let's say that you're getting to this point, you're actually like, I want to mark this. Okay, let's background color change. It depends on what you're doing. It might be you've got, you know, markup back from your creative director and you want to just save it where it is before you move on. So you don't have to do a file save as. Instead of V1, V2, V50, you can just hit these little markers. These ones here will delete. These kind of old versions will disappear. You can't go back to them after, in my case, 60 days. These ones that I've marked by hitting this little bookmark will never go away. They'll be attached to the document and I can always go back. It's pretty amazing. So I can go back to here and actually say revert to this version. Okay, and we'll jump back. I can go back to that version I was at before and mark that as another option. Okay, so this is the purple background. Okay, so nothing's gone. After 60 days, it'll all be gone. But if you mark a couple of them, you can always revert back to them. It's pretty impressive. Now, some of the hangups that I know at least I had when I was starting with cloud documents, I'm like, oh, bandwidth, slow internet. I live in a rural area. We have terrible internet. What they've done is, like, let's say that I do make a change for this. I add a type layer, okay? And what's happening is, it's like, I don't have to hit, I can hit save, but what it's doing is automatically saving it every, I think it's 5 or 10 minutes. Can't remember exactly, but it's always backing it up to the cloud. So if, I don't know, my laptop catches fire, there's always a cloud version, which is an amazing feature in itself. But what it's not trying to do is upload the whole PSD every time. I've added this text layer. Just the text layer has been updated up on the cloud version. So there's just a little bit of bandwidth kind of chugging through, okay, and updating. So if you haven't tried it now, my advice would be to give it a go now. It feels like a mature kind of way of working, and it means I can jump to things like my iPad, okay, which has got Photoshop on it now. Let me jump to that real quick. All right, so this is my iPad. I even cleaned the screen for you guys. And Face ID, well, I can't do my password because you're all watching. Come on, Face ID. There I am. All right, you got to see the back of my head ID. Let's go to Document Clouds. And what you'll notice is that there it is there, okay? It's already kind of showing me a little thumbnail. You click it, it downloads. That was pretty quick. Now that's the kind of real big, one of the big perks for using Cloud Docs, especially if you're jumping out to other devices, might be a different computer, home laptop, work laptop. And in this case, out to an iPad. And Photoshop iPad's pretty cool. I'm not going to go through it all, and click some buttons. But you've got layers, you've got your tools. Not all of them, but it's pretty amazing what you can do in here. So let's change something obvious. Let's go to our Properties panel. Let's pick a font. Let's pick terrible font so that we can see the change. The C's are always bad. Korean New, Chalk Duster, Copperplate, they're all bad. So bad. Let's go to font size, just so that we can actually see it really clearly I'll show you how to updates on the desktop version. But yeah, like that's all we'll do. You just kind of back out by hitting the home button. It'll start syncing. You can kind of see that little blue thing there maybe. Give it a second and there it is, it's done. Let's jump into the desktop version and I'll show you. All right, so back at my laptop, you can see there it is there. Just because it was last used, it's just there. I can open it up. And yeah, I don't know what's happening, but it opened really fast. It must be syncing without me doing anything, or it's just a really small change that it's quick. Anyway, it's fast, seamless, you would say. And remember the kind of perk from before, window, remember version history, you can say gulp. Okay, I want to go back to not that version, but a version there. I'm going to revert to this version, please. There you go, my old big ugly font is gone. And yeah, so that's the update for Document Cloud for 2021 in Photoshop. Yeah, nice little process. Hey, let's look at the next feature, which is actual pixels. So to test this, we need to open up a file. So file open, this will be in your exercise file. It's called actual size. Okay, so you open it up and there might be some warnings about fonts. Just ignore all those. We're just after mainly the size. So in terms of the size, this is meant to be, if I go to view and go to actual size, this is meant to be actual real life, like legit real life if I was printed and hold it in front of my face. So we're gonna test, I'm gonna switch to the camera now and show you. This is A4. So if you're in the United States, you're gonna have to take my word for it in terms of the measurements. Now I've already tested this on my screen and it totally works. I'd be interested for you to create like a new document, make it US letter and measure it yourself. Let me jump out to the camera and let's prove its size. All right, so what the hang is Dan going on about? This, have you ever printed something off and realized the font size was too big or too small? So you need to do those kind of soft proofs just to check fonts. Whereas now, Adobe says, if I go to view and I go to actual size, it's actually gonna be A4, okay? Little shortcut, if you tap F once and twice, goes to full screen mode, and I should be able to measure this now, and it should be, because it's A4, it should be 210 millimeters. It is, I'd say a millimeter off, but I can live with that when I'm doing kind of a soft proof this way. Saves the paper for printing. Actually, let me check it with an actual A4 sheet. You can see it there. Like, I'm not sure you can see what on screen, but it's about a millimeter off. I'd be interested to see how accurate yours is. So leave me know in the comments. Go to, if you're in the US, make a new document that is US letter or whatever you're used to and know the measurements of. And just let me know how close it is. Mine's pretty close. Not exact, but close enough. All right, let's jump back into the computer. All right, to get out of full screen, just tap F again. So F once, twice, 3 times is kind of a little loop. All right, and the next thing I want to show you is plugins. Now I'm just going to have to demo this because go to plugins, plugins panel, and in my case, because I've got a pre-release version, there's nothing in here yet. So open it up yourself now that the software is out, and just see what you find in here. Click on Discover Plugins, and the Creative Cloud app will open, and will hopefully give you some exciting new plugins for Photoshop. Now, plugins have been around a while. If you go to all plugins, okay, there's been lots of Photoshop plugins for a while. But what Adobe are doing now, and kind of generally across all apps, is they're trying to support plugins a lot better. So have a look in here, see if there's anything exciting. But that is new, but even too new for me. So have a look in there. All right, let's jump out to the camera and discuss the next steps. All right, my friend, that is the end of another year's Photoshop updates. This is 2021. Let me know what your favorite one was in the comments. I put mine in order that I liked, but I'd like to hear what everyone else thought was the best one. I'll have a look at the comments later on. Also, if you enjoy the video, give it a like. I'd appreciate that. And also, if you like what I do here, subscribe to the channel. I've got lots of other content like this, including all the updates for 2021 for Illustrator, for InDesign, XD, After Effects, Premiere Pro. There'll be links to those in the description as well. Remember to do your homework, okay? The people that do their homework are the people that end up remembering the stuff long term. So do your homework, and I'd love to see what you actually did. So my social media will be here. Yeah. Do it, show me a before and after, and tag me in social media. I'd love to see what you get up to. Also, if there were a few things in here and you're like, actually, I should really brush up on Photoshop, check out my premium courses, Photoshop Essentials and Photoshop Advanced. There'll be links for those in the description as well. But that, my friend, is me and you over for another year. I will see you in another video, probably. Bye now.